the best dancers from across the globe are about to join me for the audition of a lifetime.
ABC Mondays. Do they have what it takes to compete and be the next Dancing with the Stars pro?
I'm here to win.
Nothing is going to stop me.
Our star judges will decide.
This is what hunger looks like.
It was 100% a wrong choice.
Robert Irwin hosts.
The next era of ballroom starts right here on Dancing with the Stars, The Next Pro.
All new Mondays, 8, 7 Central on ABC, next day on Hulu.
This summer, Prime Video takes you back before Legally Blonde, before law school, and into the world of Elle Woods in high school. Set in 1995, this Gemini vegetarian knows exactly who she is until her family moves from Bel Air to Seattle. Packed with iconic fashion, 90s nostalgia, and a throwback soundtrack, Elle proves one thing. Law school was hard. High school was harder. From the world of Legally Blonde, watch Elle, a new original series only on Prime Video. Watch now.
Welcome back to The Case For with Chris Cox, the pretend procedural that is set not in the court of last resort, but rather the court of the Disney World Resort. This is the podcast where theme park expert Len Testa and mind reader Chris Cox will regularly debate some of the more trivial aspects of vacationing in Orlando. What makes visiting there a complete joy or an absolute misery? I am the less than honorable James Robespierre Hill, and I will be presiding over today's proceedings. And after hearing Chris and Len's arguments, I will then render my verdict. All verdicts are final until, of course, they're not, which means we'd love to hear what you, the listener, have you weigh in with your thoughts on these not-so-weighty matters.
Your Honour, yet again I notice you are wearing quite the outfit. What is that one?
It looks like it's some sort of waistcoat with breeches and a pair of high heels. Also a huge white powdered wig. Your Honour, is this your Hamilton audition?
He's not throwing away his shot.
No, gentlemen, this is a court, is it not? And I thought for today's session, I would dress as if I were a member of one of the more famous courts in history, and that is, of course, the court of Louis XIV, the Sun King.
Yeah, interesting choice. Louis XIV reigned over France for, I think it was 72 years and 110 days, just off the top of my head. No other sovereign monarch in history has ever held on to power for that long. The Queen, she tried, but she failed.
There we go. And see, now that's what I'm talking about. The man had fashion sense and job security. What's not to like?
Your Honor, I would like to point out that one of the main reasons that people dressed like that back then was because it was unfashionable, unhealthy even, for people to bathe back in the 17th and 18th century. So all those layers of frilly clothes, the real purpose was to help trap your appalling body odor inside.
And those elaborate wigs, they're not just there for fashion or because people were going bold. They confused the lice, which again, a lot of people had back in the day because they avoided bathing like the plague.
Okay, I'm not going to lie. The outfit is itchy and hot, but at least I can see where I'm going, which is more than we can say for the poor cast members in the parks, the ones who have to pull on those heavy character costumes and then step out on stage and interact with members of the general public.
Yeah, before we get started on today's show, Mr. Cox and Mr. Hill and I just want to say to all of the cast members who play these roles at the parks day in and day out, we feel for you, our brothers and sisters.
I'm always so impressed by the dedication of these cast members that they show when they're on stage, and they will stay in character, be the character as they stand in that central Florida heat and humidity, posing for pictures, signing autographs. As a fellow performer who sometimes stands under lights wearing just one layer of clothing, I admire your dedication.
But that said, it's not just those Disney cast members in those heavy character costumes who have to stand in the brutal Central Florida heat.
Yeah.
It's also the folks who've flown in at great expense down to Orlando and then bought admission to the Disney parks. And since these folks want their kids to have a magical moment with Mickey or Buzz or Tiana, what is the best way to go about making that moment happen?
And that's what we're going to be talking about on today's The Case For with Chris Cox. What's the best strategy to deploy here? Should you queue up for something like Royal Summer House, over at Epcot, or Princess Fairy Tale Hall at the Magic Kingdom, or is character dining like Chef Mickey's at the Contemporary or 1900 Park Fair at the Grand Floridian the smarter way to go?
Given that I have tiny humans and have done my very own research by actually doing it and doing both of them, it's something I really think about when I go to Walt Disney World. What is the best use of my vacation or holiday time and my money to see those characters when it comes to the parks?
Okay, so let's lay this case out then. What is the best way to go here? Do you queue up for a standalone character meet and greet? Is that the best way to go? Or do you book a character dining experience?
So there are a few ways to meet the characters, right? You've got character dining experiences. You've got confirmed meet and greets in the park, so you can see it on the app. And then you have like bonus surprise characters who might be walking around or maybe in your Disney World resort. They're kind of ad hoc ones that you can't really plan to see but might get lucky to see.
Right. And so, Chris, how do we go about meeting the characters?
Okay, there's a few ways. Number one, get in line, sucker. Simple as that. Get in line for maybe Fairy Tale Hall or, like you say, Sommerhus in the Epcot at Norway Pavilion, where you're going to know which characters are going to be in there. For example, Anna and Elsa will be in the Norway Pavilion, and you know you're going to be able to get a photo with them, quick interaction, hug, autograph, and of course, probably a long wait. Now, I remember I definitely used lightning lanes to meet the characters, but am I right in thinking they are no longer an option?
That's correct. I think this is a capacity issue, mainly, that there aren't enough slots for guests per hour for Disney to effectively offer Lightning Lane for character greetings. Part of me thinks that this is also a way for Disney to encourage people to book character meals. So, depending on how conspiracy-minded you are at any given time of the day, it's one of those two things, yeah. Chris, I also want to point out that there's also a wait to meet the characters even when you're character dining as well, right?
That's right. I suppose at that point you're waiting sat down in air conditioning with food in front of you, ideally.
Right.
But they are going to come around to you eventually. And then the other ways, of course, are the ad hoc ways where you may see them in a parade. You may get a kind of flyby in the parks as you're suddenly like, oh, so-and-so's here. Like one of my wonderful memories was going on the carousel early in the morning and Cinderella's ugly sisters were on the carousel with us. We bumped into Chip and Dale at Wilderness Lodge. But then the only other real guaranteed way is to do character dining. So you get a meal. Normally 3 to 5 characters will appear during the meal, depending on where you're eating. Depends both on what you'll eat, the quality of it, and who you'll see there. So the upsides there are you will still be able to get the photo with the characters. You'll be able to interact with them. You'll be able to hug them. You'll also be able to eat food. Normally the interactions, maybe they're a little longer, they're a little slower, they're a little less managed, and you're not really queuing at any point. But of course, there is an expense there.
Well, where this gets interesting, in fact, this is not going to come online till later this summer, but the magic of Disney animation, the redo of, a relaunch of the classic attraction from Disney MGM. I don't know if you gentlemen have seen the plans for that, but what's intriguing about that is one of the components of the magic of Disney animation. And by the way, we're talking about the stuff that would be inside of the show building rather than out in the courtyard, where there have been some characters out and about, right, Glenn?
There have, and going back to the bravery that these characters exhibit, the idea of someone standing on concrete in Central Florida, 95-degree summers, and trying to play a saxophone or a trumpet is you're better men and women than I am, because I could not do that. That's I don't know how they don't pass out. It's amazing.
Well, what's interesting about what they're going to do inside of the magic of Disney animation is they're going to have separate areas that celebrate background, storyboarding, animation, that sort of thing. And in each of these areas, there is going to be a classic Disney character that you can queue up and interact with. I want to say Rapunzel, Tiana, Chip and Dale, that sort of thing. But that's all indoors. With air conditioning, and,
exactly.
Dedicated queue and that sort of thing. So I'm going to be fascinated to see what happens on the heels of that. Because, if you think about it, there have been attractions at Walt Disney World that throw in, a character greeting is almost a bonus. I mean, for example, the Walt Disney Presents that history display at the studio.
At the studios, we'll generally include one character as well in the character greeting. Yeah.
It's sort of like that little chocolate mint you get on your pillow at the end of the night. It's like, oh, here's Mike and Sully. Or that's the other thing. It always seems very random as to who are we meeting at the end of Walt Disney Presents.
And Universal do this with the Minions as well, outside of Despicable Me, Minion Mayhem. The Minions are there for a quick meet and greet as well.
All right, so let's talk about the case for standalone meet and greets. We've mentioned the air conditioning as a benefit there, but there's got to be other things too, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're not having to pay for it. You're paying in time, and those lines, I know from experience, they can be slow and long moving, and what feels like it should be 10 minutes can easily be 50 minutes. And 50 minutes standing in line with a tired child who's desperate to meet a character is how memories are created. Very specific memories, I suppose.
Yeah, I think I told you guys this separately, but the longest wait I've ever had in any theme park was 5 hours to meet Anna and Elsa in Disneyland. And it got to the point where, Hannah was young back then and she was with some friends. But basically the parents took turns co-parenting in the line. Like, okay, I'm going to get snacks. Who wants pretzels? And you'd come back with 20 pretzels and hand them out like you're distributing aid in Rwanda or whatever. That is the longest wait I've ever waited for a line. The thing that I like about character greetings, though, is it's a balance between the spontaneity of a random character encounter, like Jim, you mentioned seeing Chip and Dale, walking through the parks. And I love spontaneity as long as it's rigorously scheduled into my touring plan. but it's this balance between like that thing that you can't predict and the absolute certainty of having to be at a specific restaurant at a specific time to see a specific set of characters. To Chris's point, we could walk up to the magic of Disney animation and decide right then and there if we wanted to go in and meet the characters or not. And if not, we could come back in a few hours and do the same thing. And you don't have that flexibility with a character meal. So I kind of like that.
And I want to stress that back in the 70s and the 80s, in fact, this didn't change till 88. But it used to be if you were at a Disney park and you wanted to see a specific character, if you went up to a cast member, they could literally pull out a piece of paper they'd picked up that day. And it's like, okay, you want to see Robin Hood, first of all, see if Robin Hood was on the schedule. And then it would be like, okay, Robin Hood appears typically between 2:30 and 3:30 at this point in Fantasyland. Yeah. Be there, and that was the thing, otherwise, as a guest, unless you'd ask somebody, you wouldn't know. And you would, walk around the corner and here's Alice with the Mad Hatter, and it was all random. And it was what ended up happening was Disney had gotten so many complaints at guest relations, to the effect of, I came to the park, my kid wanted to meet Mickey, we couldn't find him. Right. And it's like, and the argument was, well, you can always see Mickey in the 3:00 parade. And it's like, no, my kid wants to meet Mickey. And that's when, for Mickey's Birthday Land, as part of the year-long 60th anniversary celebration of Mickey, they created the Meet Mickey tent there in Orlando. And, the dirty little secret of the tent was that it had multiple Mickeys. I want to say 4 were operating at any one time, so you could move people through that building quickly. And but toward what Chris was talking about earlier, you still could have a quality. It wasn't. You could have a quality moment with Mickey. It wasn't what Mr. Schul likes to describe as the hug and shove.
The love and shove. I want to point out, Jim, I just want to correct one thing here. Mickey is special in that he can exist in a superposition of locations at any one time, and it's only when you observe Mickey that he collapses into his bodily form. So there's only one Mickey. He's just in 4 places. You don't know which place until you open the door and see him. So there's some quantum stuff going on there.
There we go.
Yeah.
I think there's also the secret meet and greet as well, where if you're a Disney Visa card holder, each park has its own special meet and greet that you can get into,
I've
which
never
is normally
done
a
this.
shorter line. We did it at Epcot and had a great encounter with Mickey, and I think it was Minnie and Goofy and Pluto. It's like 4 or 5 of the characters were there.
That's you'd have to go to multiple locations in the Magic Kingdom for that.
Yeah, and it was indoors and it had a great backdrop. It was like a real surprise. And we did it, it's obviously gone now, but Star Wars Launch Bay had a meet and greet with Darth Vader where literally we were the only people there, and it was kind of like, okay, we're going to go now because you clearly have just delighted there's people that have come in, but we've got other stuff to be doing.
I remember Nancy and I did that with Chewbacca, and again, same thing. It's like, you literally have to look. This is lovely, but I have to leave now. I know you're lonely back here in your big fursuit.
Do you hear that? Sounds like breakfast is ready. Because Quaker's coming in hot with morning nutrition. 100% whole grain oats and a good source of fiber to fuel the rhythm of your morning and kickstart your day. And that sounds absolutely delicious. Fuel to start whatever's next. Quaker, official sponsor of FIFA World Cup 26.
This episode is brought to you by Accenture. When your advertising operations fall out of sync, everything else follows. Spotify and Accenture are working together to reinvent the rhythm of ad sales, using automation, analytics, and smarter workflows to simplify campaign delivery and access better data across the business. The result? Less time spent on operations, more time connecting brands with the moments and fandoms that matter most. Learn more at accenture.com/Spotify.
Here's your report.
Oh, thanks, Jane. I wish I could hire someone just like you.
Try LinkedIn Hiring Pro. It's more than a job board. It's like the recruiter you always wished you had. Hiring Pro uses real-time insights to match your role to LinkedIn's unique network of professionals and delivers a short list of best fit candidates. You'll spend less time sorting applicants and more time talking to the right people.
Let's do it. You're irreplaceable, Jane, but another you would be great.
Hire right the first time. Post your job for free on LinkedIn today at linkedin.com/quality.
Well, Chris, you've probably done more character greetings than us with your kids over the last few years. How long do you typically wait for those character greetings?
I would say, in my head, I don't want to be waiting more than 20 minutes, really, for a character. And the ones in Magic Kingdom at Princess Fairy Tale Hall, the kids sort of aged out of wanting to see the princesses around the time Lightning Lane stopped being available to them. So we never waited for them. But we would always, with an Anna and Elsa, we would rope drop Frozen Ever After. And when we got off that, we would then just go get in line and wait however long it was, normally like half an hour, 40 minutes, to meet them and be the first people to meet them in the day. And we would sit there and we'd have some of the baked goods from Norway and some coffee as we were waiting. And we felt like that was a good use of time, because we're not going to trek over to Remy or something at that point. And it gave us a good opportunity for that interaction and breakfast. But that was a long time to wait, but therefore we were sort of waiting for it to open. I think we've always had better experience in the character dining, and particularly when the girls who were younger and were a bit shyer about meeting the characters, because you sometimes can get a second or a third attempt to see that character. By the time they come around again, the kids have warmed up, they've eaten something, they're more excited and have a better interaction.
That's a great point, and that's really, really difficult to do in a standard queue for character greeting, because you essentially have to get in line twice, which no one's going to do, right? Oh, that's a great point, Chris. Let me ask you this question. When you are waiting in lines for the character greetings, the big variable that determines your wait time is how much time each family ahead of you spends with the characters. Some people are just
become very judgy.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Like some people are there, they're like, I'm here for my photo, I'm going to do my quick 2 poses, I'm going to say thank you, and I'm going to be on my way. Other people, want to talk about their long-term relationship with the character and the story and things like that. That can drive up the wait times.
We are the type of people who will get our photos, let the girls have an interaction, and the princesses and the characters have always been great with the girls, and they have their interactive moment with them. But we're also very aware that everyone's been waiting in line and everyone wants to get their thing and move on to what's next. So, it always feels like we have enough time, but very much in our heads, we're cutting it maybe shorter than necessary because we want to get on and hope everyone does the same.
I remember one time I was waiting to see Mickey Mouse in the Magic Kingdom. I had rope dropped the character reading in Town Hall. And Jim, you remember when Mickey had debuted the talking head?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm waiting in line to see Mickey Mouse, and I had not had my coffee in the morning. In fact, I'm actually drinking coffee as I'm in line, and I'm talking to the cast member attendant, one of his friends, who was there and sort of explaining to people how it was all going to work. And the family in front of me walked up, and Mickey started talking to them in Portuguese. And I'm looking at the cast member next to me like, am I having a stroke? Or is Mickey Mouse speaking a different language to these people? It's like, oh yeah, he speaks Portuguese. I'm like, I mean, of course you would expect Mickey Mouse to do that because Mickey Mouse is an international ambassador and a friend to all people. But to hear that live, reminded me of how special those kinds of encounters are. To some people, that wasn't my character greeting. I don't remember what I said to Mickey Mouse, but I remember that family's reaction that Mickey Mouse speaks our language, and the reaction of the daughter that was in front of me, better than I remember anything about my own character interaction.
It is so interesting you bring this up because there is a video that has just bubbled up online of it's a little deaf girl getting in, she gets to the top of the line to meet Jessie. Again, Jessie's the central character of the new Toy Story 5, and she signs to Jessie, and you see Jessie react, and she begins to sign back to the girl. And
Disney cast members are the best. Yeah.
No, that's it. It's like, and you watch the mom fold in on herself because this, the daughter was just there to wave to Jessie, and that now that she's having a conversation with Jessie and, hi, what's your name? And, and to have her sign it, and it's just that sort of thing, and remember, this is a cast member who is doing this with a giant plastic head on with limited visibility that caught that the little girl was signing and could immediately shift into, oh, I will sign back.
Some of our most special memories are the character meet and greets. Like some of the photos we have on our wall, they're meeting the characters. That is, the Disney difference. They're the things that make it special, and the excitement on our girls' faces when they're younger, meeting those. Even now, still, that is, they're the magical moments.
Yeah, I mean, for all of the times that we've complained about various aspects of how Disney runs the parks, we've never said anything but good things about the cast members who portray the characters. Like they do that for the love of the game, not for the money. It's really astounding to watch, and you got to give Disney credit too for being able to recruit those people.
And if you've ever been lucky enough to stand backstage when a parade comes off of Main Street and they're out of sight of guests, to watch these poor teenagers pull off their head and this tomato red face, that immediately gets handed a Gatorade because they've been dancing, wearing, a 70-pound outfit with limited vision since that thing rolled on stage at Frontierland.
Yeah, probably for a few minutes before that, right? Because they had to be in costume at a time. Yeah, it's astounding stuff. Chris, I wanted to go back to your point about waiting in line. I threw some charts in the show notes, and the charts show the relationship between the posted wait in line to meet a character and then the actual wait. And the interesting thing for that is that for certain characters, you will almost always wait less than the posted wait time. So if you wanted to meet Ariel at her grotto, for example, the vast majority of guests wait less than the posted wait time. And for characters like Mickey Mouse, the wait time is much more variable. In fact, there are instances where in the middle of the day, you could wait slightly longer than the posted wait time. So it seems like, with a couple of exceptions, the popularity of the character dictates how reliable the posted wait time is. And I think this goes back to the interaction part of it. Like for Mickey Mouse, meeting Mickey Mouse is a big deal for everyone. So you're probably going to take a little bit more time than meeting, Ariel at her grotto. I'm guessing. That's my hypothesis.
Yeah. And I think you're right. And I think also that time pressure of you having the time with the character feels not as evident when you do a character dining experience. And I think the upside of a character dining experience as well is that if you are on the Disney dining plan, as we discussed in a previous episode, it is a really good use of those dining plan credits to get a character meal, because they're always going to be more expensive and you're always going to get better value for those credits.
Yeah, especially if Disney's offering free dining at the deluxe resorts, the free dining plan at the deluxe resorts. If you've got, I think the break even is more than one child. So more than one child in your room, and you had already planned on doing the character meals to begin with. That's when free dining actually starts to look attractive from the perspective of that versus a standard room only discount. And that's definitely a variable that we need to consider there. And that helps alleviate the cost, which I think is my big obstacle to doing more character dining. I was talking to Laurel before this show. Do you guys know how much it costs for breakfast at Cinderella's Royal Table now?
It's the one character dining we've never done, because I've always just been like, I'm not going to use... It's a 2-credit one, isn't it, if you're using dining plan?
2 credits.
So therefore, I'm not using 2 credits, and I'm not paying. So how much?
Yeah, $65 is basically what 1 credit is worth in the Disney dining plan for a table service meal. Right now, breakfast for adults at Cinderella's Royal Table is $92.83.
Wow.
Plus gratuity.
I mean, that is a lot of money for your kid to only eat Fruit Loops.
Yeah, so Chris, for you, a family of 4, you're looking at well over $400 US for breakfast.
I mean, you can get your lightning lanes for the day for that.
That's a lot. I mean, lunch and dinner, $109 plus gratuity.
I will say, though, that honestly, one of my favorite character experiences ever at a Disney resort did happen at Cinderella's Royal Table. And the thing of it is, Alice will never remember it because she was an infant. She was in a high chair. We had literally brought, her baby food to feed her. And the cast member who was playing one of Cinderella's mice, I want to say it was Perla, came up to the table, saw Alice, took the baby food and the spoon out of Michelle's hand and began feeding Alice. And it was one of these things where, and Alice is just
sure,
giant mouse, Jamie. Absolutely.
Hey, apricots are apricots. Let's do it.
There we go. But that, again, if I were listing one of my top 10 memories ever at a Disney park, that's in the top 5 easy.
That's a fantastic story.
My daughter gurgling and apricots starting out. But again, it's a giant cartoon mouse that was feeding her. And all right, I did $92, expensive memory that you'll never forget.
Totally worth it. And also, it's like no one remembers the meals in there. The food is, my memory of the meals have been like, some have been fine, some have been slightly better than fine, some have been slightly worse than fine. But it's not the reason you're going for a character meal.
No, I definitely remember the character interactions. And I think that's true. With the exception of the 5-hour on and also wait that I just mentioned. I don't remember how long you waited for those things, but some of them are fantastic. Jimmy, you mentioned the stepsisters. One of the best character interactions I've had recently is meeting the stepsisters around the corner from Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique behind.
Yes, they hang out there by the fountain, right?
No! Oh, that's genius. Okay.
So it was, we walked around, it was Laurel and I, we walked around the corner, saw them there. I think there was like one other person in line, and thankfully it was the middle of the day, but the line was under the walkway. So the line to wait to meet the sisters was shaded. And so we got there, and it was really funny because, you can play with the sisters more than you can play with other characters. So we were saying things like, look, you're not evil, you're just misunderstood. And God forbid a woman, stick up for herself. And that's really the thing that they're being, labeled, evil for or whatever. I think my closing line to them was like, don't let anyone dim your light, sisters. And they obviously they like stuff like that. So that's a lot of fun. And stuff like that is, really makes the day better.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they bring a smile to your face. And I think, before we kind of conclude on this, I was thinking that the problem with the character dining is that you're wasting time you could be spending in the park, and maybe you would spend less time in line to just meet the character. But actually, I think overall you're probably not, because at some point you've got to eat. So if you can combine eating with sitting with aircon with characters, you're doing a pretty good job.
I think so. And I think, too, there are certain characters, like I don't think we can reliably meet the Winnie the Pooh characters in the parks. So there are character meals like at Crystal Palace. That is the only option to the only reliable option to get photos of your kids with those characters. So if your kids really like those characters, sometimes character meals are the only option. And Chris, to your point, you can offset by this saying you have to eat anyway, and you were going to wait in the line 45 minutes if this was an option. So I think we can rationalize it there. Especially for, I think, first-time visitors, you should do one character meal just to see what it's like.
Yeah, I think that's a special way of doing it. And I think also if you're on the dining plan, particularly if it's the free dining plan, it makes total sense to hit up a character meal or two as part of that.
Yeah, like I said, going back to the free dining offer, if you're staying at a deluxe resort, you'd already planned to do character meals anyway. Take a look at whether the free dining plan is a better savings of money than the resort discount.
Now, Your Honor, during all of this, I can't help but notice you've taken off your wig and the shoes that you were wearing.
I don't know how Louis XIV could have worn all of this stuff day in and day out for over 70 years.
Your Honor, I'll bet that if you drill down into the real history of the French court, there was probably one royal who once suggested a casual Friday, which back then probably translated into wearing 5 frilly petticoats rather than 10.
And again, to reiterate what we said earlier, to all of you Disney cast members out there, we admire your skill, your dedication. We salute you because you bring us these happy, magical memories that become photos on our wall and things that make us smile and stories that we share. So thank you for that.
Yes, and not to mention your ability to stand there in the Central Florida heat without being sweet to our kids and not keeling over regularly from heat stroke. And on that sweaty note, another session in these hallowed halls, the court of the Disney World Resort, has now come to a close. My thanks to our two would-be barristers, theme park expert Len Testa and master illusionist Chris Cox, for talking about what is the better spend, so to speak, with your time and money. Getting in line to meet a character at the parks or character dining. Just a reminder, though, folks, a full verdict won't be rendered until you, the listener, finally weighs in, and we'll be sharing your thoughts on some of our more recent cases on an upcoming listener mail show. But until that podcast airs, the Case 4 with Chris Cox is now closed. And on behalf of Mr. Testa and Mr. Cox, this is the less than honorable James Robespierre Hill. Thanks for listening, and this court will be back in session soon.